Somewhere in the deserts of a parallel universe, a giant ship is sailing across the sands and heading towards the dark tower that's covered by thunderclouds and storms. The leader of the group examines the drawings of the structure, seemingly realizing that something is wrong. What they don't realize is that a giant monster is following closely behind their ship, eventually attacking them furiously and throwing everyone into the air. The captain rushes towards the steering wheel and tries to regain control of the boat, while the people hang on desperately to survive the monster's rampage. Amidst the chaos, a hunter is thrown off the ship while the monster continues to attack the crew members, leaving the men behind in the sands. Meanwhile, a team of US soldiers led by their captain Artemis is traveling across the deserts in a different world, looking for their teammates who disappeared not so long ago. They venture across an empty field where multiple markers made from stones can be seen on the floor, eventually arriving at the end of the tracks. To their surprise, the tire marks seem to have disappeared in the middle of nowhere, almost like the people just vanished into thin air. Before the soldiers can investigate further, a giant storm approaches them from the horizons very rapidly, causing the people to escape towards the other direction immediately. However, their plan eventually fails as the dark clouds approach the vehicles, quickly consuming the soldiers into the abyss. The lightning strikes repeatedly around the cars, causing the stone markers to begin glowing as a giant portal opens right in front of them. The people drive across the opening and quickly runs off a cliff, making the vehicles flip in the air as they tumble down towards the ground. When the soldiers finally reach the bottom, they rush out from the car to reassess their current situation, but soon realizes that everything looks completely different, while the mountain they fell from has magically disappeared. Captain Artemis checks the map to see any nearby landmarks, but the only thing that's present is a massive tower on the horizons, which is surrounded by thundering clouds. They begin to head out to scout the area, and to their surprise, the soldiers are able to find the remains of the team that they were looking for in the first place. Upon closer examination, Artemis realizes that everything is burned to crisp, including the sand that's around the area, which has been heated into glass. They decide to evacuate from the area, suspecting that danger is nearby, but no matter how far they drive, there's nothing except for sand and the lack of signals from human civilization. The soldiers eventually drive into a shocking sight where they see a giant skeleton that can only be the remains for a massive creature. What they don't realize is that the hunter from earlier is secretly watching them, and the man shoots a warning shot at the people, trying to tell them that danger is nearby. Thinking that the man is a hostile, the soldiers fire their guns at the hunter, forcing him to run away. However, they soon realize that something is wrong when the ground begins shaking, and a giant creature from below the sands rushes at the soldiers with blinding speed. They try to drive quickly away from the monster while shooting their guns furiously to slow down the enemy, but their attacks are useless no matter how many times they fire the rounds. The creature manages to close in and launches out from the sands, flipping one of the vehicles across the field like it's made from cardboard. The enemy roars furiously and turns the attention towards the other soldiers, while the people shoot their weapons continuously at the monster. The creature is able to close in on the car very quickly and knocks the vehicle backwards using tremendous force, sending the soldiers flying onto the ground. Before the people can recover, the monster pierces one of the soldiers right in the back, raising the man into the air while everyone watches in shock. Realizing that he's about to die, the soldier sacrifices himself by throwing all his grenades at the creature, causing huge explosions on the enemy's face and giving the people a chance to escape. The soldiers quickly run towards a field of rocks, while Artemis fires continuously at the monster, trying to buy them as much time as possible. The giant creature closes in onto the people as it knocks over the structures nearby, but the hunter from far away is able to shoot his arrow that explodes on the monster's face. The soldiers manages to escape into the cave, while the enemy tackles the entrance repeatedly in frustration. The people unleash all their firepower onto the monster, eventually causing it to give up and turn away as the creature finally decides to retreat into the sands. Very soon, the night approaches the lands and everything turns into darkness, while the soldiers have problem deciding on what to do next. Before they can recover properly, a massive insect grabs onto Artemis and lifts the woman into the air as it injects a sedative into her system. The people shoot at the creature immediately, managing to free their leader and push back the monster, but no matter how much they try, they cannot seem to revive their captain. More enemies quickly appear in the area as the team tries to fight back, but the overwhelming numbers forces them to retreat and leave the woman behind. When Artemis finally regains consciousness, she finds herself inside a giant cocoon surrounded by victims who are hanging upside down from the ceilings. The woman desperately tries to break free and manages to rip open the webs, causing her to drop down onto the ground. When she finally gets up, Artemis realizes in shock that all her teammates are captured and killed inside the cocoons, leaving her alone in the enemy's terrifying nest. She tries to find a way out from this horrific place, eventually running into one of her teammates who somehow survived as well. They try to escape together, but are quickly surrounded by the vicious insects, and the man is killed right in front of her. With no other choice, Artemis takes out a spray can and launches the fire from her torch towards the monsters, burning everything that's in front of her. She takes this opportunity and runs away from the creatures, trying to get back onto the surface by crawling out from the caves, finally escaping from this living nightmare. The giant creatures try to go after the woman, but immediately stops away from the light, granting the soldier temporary safety in the sun. After regathering her strength, Artemis manages to climb onto the highest vantage point in this area, but realizes that there's nothing in sight except for the deserts. What's even worse, the main character discovers that the giant monster is guarding close by the lands, waiting to devour anything that sets foot in the sands. The woman has no choice but to keep on exploring for shelter before the night falls, eventually arriving into a place that's filled by shipwrecks. She goes into the structure and sees numerous weapons made from animal bones, but soon realizes that something is nearby as she feels a presence behind her. Suddenly, the hunter jumps out and puts a knife to her throat, taking the woman hostage for attacking him earlier despite his good intentions to save them. He takes Artemis into his shelter while the sun slowly drops down into the horizons, allowing the vicious insects to roam the lands once again. The next morning, the hunter wakes up from his sleep only to see that Artemis has managed to break free and gets hit right in the head by the woman. The two begins to fight as they knock each other onto the furnitures, breaking everything inside as they both try to gain the upper hand. In a fit of rage, Artemis tackles the hunter furiously, sending them both out from the caves as they roll down into the grounds below, causing the man to crash right into the monster's nest. The insects all swarm towards the man and tries to grab onto him while he struggles desperately for his life, but Artemis manages to save the hunter in the last moment by pulling him out. The woman tries to make peace to her captor and shows him that she's not the enemy by giving back his knife, eventually winning over the hunter by feeding him chocolate from her world. Artemis learns that the giant creature in the desert is called Diablos, and they have to slay the monster together in order to escape from this terrible place. The hunter shows the woman the armors and weapons used by his people, and Artemis is amazed by the elemental properties possessed by the swords as it lights on fire. They set up a trap to distract the Diablos and quickly runs the other direction, trying to wait for the chance to make it back to the vehicles and retrieve the rocket launchers. The machine catapults a bucket and throws it onto the sands nearby, causing the monster to chase after it immediately and giving them a chance to run for the cars. However, the creature soon notices that it was only a distraction and begins running towards the warriors quickly by diving into the ground. Realizing that they can't outrun the enemy, the hunter decides to be the bait and runs the other way, trying to lure the creature away so that Artemis can get to the weapons. The monster chases closely behind and jumps out from the sands, throwing the man into the air using tremendous power and knocking him onto the ground. The Diablos approaches the hunter to finish the kill, but the man takes the bow and aims at the monster, shooting an arrow right into the enemy's eye. The creature becomes furious and charges at the man, knocking the hunter away using its massive tail. Before the warrior can be killed, Artemis begins firing the minigun at the enemy, distracting the creature and turning its attention towards her. The monster roars at the woman and charges in quickly, but she fires the rocket launcher right at the enemy's face, causing a huge explosion in the process. To her surprise, the attack did not do any damage at all, only serving to annoy the monster even more as it flips her vehicle across the desert, completely destroying the car as a result. The monster rushes in to finish the kill, but the hunter is able to climb onto Diablo's head and stabs the enemy by using his giant sword. The creature screams in agony and throws the man away, causing him to crash onto the grounds below. Artemis sees the chance to kill the giant monster and charges in with all her might, shooting her grappling hook onto the enemy and flies towards Diablo's head. The woman manages to grab onto the giant sword while the creature shakes violently, trying to knock the soldier off its body. She holds onto the creature desperately and stabs the weapon completely into the monster, causing it to crash onto the structures nearby and falls down to its death. With the enemy guarding the deserts killed, the two are able to traverse across the lands as they journey closer towards the mysterious tower, eventually arriving into a luscious oasis that's blooming with life. The warriors are finally able to set up camp and rest their bodies on the seemingly peaceful land, even if it's just for a brief moment. At night, Artemis wakes up after a large creature flies over the camp, causing them to glance over the horizons, only to see that everything is being lit on fire by a dragon. Very soon, the grounds begin to shake as numerous dinosaurs rush out from the forest while in flames, forcing the warriors to run away immediately. Suddenly, a large man jumps out from the trees and smashes onto the ground, causing a massive shockwave that pushes the creatures away and saving the main character's life. Artemis takes out her weapon as well and summons the flames onto her blades, trying to fend off the incoming creatures alongside the mysterious man. At the same time, the hunter is also trying to escape from the dinosaurs, but soon arrives in front of a massive cliff, trapping the man with nowhere to run. Luckily, a woman rushes in on a tree vine and grabs onto the hunter in the last moment, saving the man from the animals as the creatures tumble down into the abyss. It turns out that the strangers are the hunter's friends, and they're here to rescue their teammate after recovering from the Diablo's attack. The captain tells Artemis that they know about the existence between the worlds, and that the tower is a vessel of transportation across the universes. They have noticed abnormalities within the structure, which is why they're here to fix the tower and prevent their worlds from colliding into each other. However, the building is guarded by a vicious dragon called Rathalos, and they have to destroy the creature in order to get into the tower. The next morning, the warriors head out for the journey as the people cheer for their success. They climb over the treacherous mountains that reside over the fields below, heading closer and closer towards the mysterious tower as the sun begins to fade into the clouds. The team eventually arrives in front of the massive entrance, where the sky tower is conjuring flashes of lightning from its peak. The people are amazed by the giant structure and notices that it's creating random portals around the area as it becomes increasingly unstable. Before they can examine the situation further, a massive creature flies in from the sky and releases a barrage of flames onto the warriors, causing the people to scream in agony. The monster finally reveals itself as it lands on the platforms and roars furiously at the invaders. Before the creature continues to attack, the captain rushes out and launches a shockwave at the enemy, but the dragon retaliates immediately by spitting fire as well, forcing the men to hide quickly behind the pillars. The creature flies in towards the humans as the warriors charge furiously at the monster, eventually clashing into each other as a fierce battle begins. The captain launches another energy wave at the dragon and stuns the creature, allowing Artemis to take the chance and slices at the monster, eventually cutting open the dragon's wings as the creature roars in pain. Other team members charge in to attack as well, but their efforts are quickly ended when the monster knocks them away like flies. The team continues to force the creature backwards while Artemis cuts viciously at the dragon's face and piercing her blades inside the enemy's mouth, but the monster manages to knock the woman away using its wings and sends her flying towards the cliff. The giant creature approaches the main character and opens its massive mouth, launching a stream of fire towards the woman and forcing her to jump down into the abyss. Luckily, Artemis is able to enter into one of the dimensional portals and travel across the worlds, eventually ending up back in her universe as the helicopters approach her for the rescue. The soldiers take the woman into the military transportation and prepares to take off as the ground forces arrive to secure the area as well. However, before the plane can leave this area, a giant portal opens and releases the massive dragon into this world, allowing the monster to rip the vehicle into pieces as they tumble towards the ground and crash lands onto the desert. The military tries to fight back by using their ground forces, but the monster unleashes the flames onto the soldiers and destroys the entire squadron in a matter of seconds. Artemis is able to survive the fall and makes it out from the wreckage, only to see that the dragon is absolutely annihilating the army by using its flames. The dragon lands onto the ground once again and roars furiously in the sea of fire, while Artemis locks eyes onto the creature and decides to launch a final attack. The woman runs towards the giant monster and fires her grappler at the dragon's arm, allowing her to fly towards the enemy with incredible speed. She grabs onto the creature's wings and cuts across the skin by using her body weight, essentially grounding the enemy by taking away its ability to fly. The woman launches a flaming projectile at the dragon before it's about to breathe fire, lighting up the gas in the creature's mouth and causing its body to explode from the inside. Surprisingly, Rathalos is able to survive the attack and roars furiously at the woman, planning to take vengeance on the human human for causing us so much pain, but suddenly another explosion knocks away the creature, revealing that the hunter has finally made it to this world as well. The man continues to fire his exploding arrows at the dragon, eventually landing a hit inside the creature's throat, which causes a massive explosion and finally killing the monster as it falls towards the ground. Before the two can celebrate their victory, the captain appears as well and warns them that the breaches are becoming worse while the clouds begin to cover the entire desert. Another dragon flies away from the sky tower and crosses into this universe, while the fighters charge in fearlessly by wielding their elemental weapons in order to fight off the vicious creature. They eventually bring the fight back to the parallel universe as a mysterious person watches them from the towers, revealing that he might be the true mastermind behind the crisis.